A stick measurement has been called. It's the stick of Marty McSorley.
Welcome to Marty's Illegal Stick, a hockey history podcast with your host, Scott Kinville. Let's hop on that Zamboni time machine and go back in time to look at hockey's glorious history.
And what's going on, hockey fans, and welcome to episode number 89 of Marty's Illegal Stick, a hockey history podcast, recording here on Thursday, August 18th, 2022, on the Sports History Network and powered by MyLittleFalls.com. You know, we took last week off because of craziness and schedules and conflicting schedules and everything else, so we're recharged. We got all kinds of energy to go for another week of hockey fun.
No.
And we see that Dave the Save Warner is ready to go. So now that I just woke you up, how you been?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Good.
The week off was good, but I wasn't off. You were off.
Not necessarily true. I worked a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
But, you know, since the last time we talked, we got a lot of big doings here.
I know. I hear rumors.
Yes. Well, you know what? Now let's just make sure we know what rumors we're talking about here.
We're talking about that. Never mind.
Okay. No, actually.
Hockey.
Yes, exactly. So our website, martysillegalstick.com, you know, last year we were covering the Comets and the Pioneers, and we were writing articles all the time on there. Well, all the work we were doing on there for last year is now going to be on 315hockey.com. We are combining forces with 315hockey.com to basically be the go-to source for Central New York hockey.
I like it.
And we got another big announcement coming next week, but I don't want to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
I don't want to overwhelm you. So we'll just leave it at that.
I can only handle so much at my age.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't want to have to, call 911 here. So it's
no mouth to mouth. See,
boy.
Edward's not even flinching.
Yeah, right.
I'm right here.
He's been around us long enough. He knows.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, anything to do with Central New York hockey, the site is 315hockey.com. Check it out. I got a couple articles up there right now, along with, other articles that are going on in the offseason. So, like I said, check it out. Now, a few weeks ago, we started what we call the Best of the Best series, in which we take a look at each NHL franchise. And it's going to take us a while to get through all of them. But what we do is it's enough of that.
Sorry. I know how your shows go.
Yeah, right. And so anyways, we picked we set it up like an all-star team format. So we take a franchise, we look at their first team all-stars, second team all-stars, honorable mention. And this week, we have one of the most historic franchises in hockey lined up, the Boston Bruins. And to help us pick those teams is my longtime friend, the co-host of the On Thin Ice podcast. He's a hockey nerd just like me and a Boston Bruins super fan, Mr. Ed Stefaniak. What's going on?
How's it going?
It's
How
going.
you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic.
Doing fantastic. Scotty, you ready for me to railroad you in B-League?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it could potentially get ugly. I'm getting old. You got to be careful with me now. I'm getting brittle.
Listen, I'm pushing 30 now, and I'm feeling.
Oh, I'm pushing 30. Listen to him.
There's no pushing at that age.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're cruising. I got news for you. If you think you're pushing, wait till you get to my age.
Oh, boy. I know. I had to push him the other day. It was terrible.
Yeah. Those crosswalks are hell in the wheelchair.
Yeah. But before we get started with the Bruins, that sweater you're wearing is pretty sharp. But it doesn't look like Boston Bruins colors. It looks like one of their old enemies.
Yes, it is a Danbury Whalers jersey. It is from the Federal League. I've scoured the internet high and low to find this thing. They are no longer a team. They haven't been one in 5-6 years. They go along with Danbury hockey lore now because of the Trashers. Mm-hmm. And after that documentary came out, like everyone wants a little bit of Danbury hockey. And I had 10 games with the team. I was 19 years old now, 10 years ago. And just absolutely loved everything about Danbury. I did not realize what I was going into when I went there, and just absolutely fell in love with the city. So when you hear, players like Kevin Todd say they like Utica and they want to stick around, and you think like, why? Why would you want to stay? No, I figured it out because Danbury is just Connecticut's version of Utica, and I loved it there. And if I could have, I would have stayed.
That is awesome. It is awesome. And apparently you said you played 10 games. You earned your money in an interesting way, didn't you?
Yeah, I earned my money getting punched in the face. When I went to go try out with the team, coach, his name, no relation, I might add. His name was Phil Esposito.
Yes.
No relation. I
was just going to say.
I got to add that, but it does go along with today's episode.
What a great hockey name, though, right?
You know what? It is just a classic name now. But I go to tryouts, and coach had a meeting with everyone having a tryout. He says, if you don't fight, you don't sign. So I said, okay. So I went to tryouts. I got into like 7 fights. These guys were going to be my teammates, and I actually surprisingly won a lot of those, and that's when the winning stopped. The only fight I backed down from was John Morasti, and he just scares me. That man just scares me. I'm in the face-off circle. He just looks at me. He's like, "I'm going to beat your face in." And I said, "No, you're not. I'm skating away."
Yeah, twirling. That's it.
10-second shift, dump and change, get on out. It's like one of the 4 times that year I touched the puck. I just got in the zone, skated off, and I just looked at my coach. I'm like, I'm not fighting him. No way. His knuckles are the size of my head.
Why am I picturing Happy Gilmore here in that beginning scene?
No.
Except I know you can skate a lot better than Happy, but
I can skate a lot better than Happy. I don't have the shot, but I definitely he wouldn't have backed down from Nasty Morasti at all. I backed right down. I was too young to go out that way.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, you know what? Hey, it's a good thing Bob Barker wasn't out there too. So, you know,
Bob Barker would have beat my ass.
Oh, geez.
Oh boy. Well, Ed, since you are the Boston Bruins super fan, are you ready for this?
I'm definitely ready. I had this list in my head years ago, and it just now I have a place to share it with people.
Well, there you go. And you know what? You came to the right spot. So why don't we do this? Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Okay, so let's do our honorable mentions. Now, our honorable mentions don't have to be any particular, by a particular one position. It can be any positions, any number. It doesn't matter. And a team like the Bruins, that's been around for almost 100 years, there's quite a few names to go through. So, and not everybody's going to make those first and second teams. So here's what the honorable mentions are for. And so, my friend, I will turn it over to you. Who are your honorable mentions?
All right, my first one, everyone is going to think it's a little controversial. My first honorable mention is Eddie Shore.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, the guy wouldn't survive in today's game. That's why he's on there. He wouldn't survive he wasn't a great player in today's standards. He was great for back then, but nowadays he would just be a liability out there with constant penalties. He really wasn't a point getter. But it's hard to deny the history of him and and what he did for the league back then. So he's good enough to make the honorable mentions list, but he didn't even sniff the first and second team.
Wow. Okay, so we're starting right off with a Hall of Famer on the honorable mention list. I can't hear the rest of them. I can't wait to hear the rest of them.
Yes. Number 2 is Rick Middleton.
Ooh.
Again, great player, but Boston has had so many great players over the years that it's hard to justify putting Rick Middleton on it. Like, it's great player.
Okay.
Wore the black and gold Bruin for life. Love him to death. There's just so many to choose from that I had to put him on here. Number 3 is Tim Thomas. He was great when he played, but he didn't play for long.
True.
He wasn't there.
I think he was there for 6 seasons, right?
He was 6-7 seasons.
Yeah.
A couple of them weren't great. A couple, I think one of them was a Vezina. Obviously, the Stanley Cup and Conn Smythe. But he just wasn't there for long. So what he was there for, I loved every minute of it, wasn't quite. There were better goalies that did a little more. Next up, I have Adam Oates. Oatesy, better elsewhere. He was great with Boston, but he did such a good job with Washington and other teams. Like
St. Louis.
St. Louis, Anaheim. He was there. He was only in Boston for a handful of seasons in his long career.
Mm-hmm.
So he only played in Boston for a few years, which like he won't be able to make this list with some of these players. Some of these players have had to play for Boston their entire career, 20 seasons, all that. Next up, I have the whole Kraut line. So Milt Schmidt, Woody Dumart, Bobby Bauer.
Uh-huh.
That line itself, that's really when like the line naming started, like the Perfection line, the French Connection. It all kind of started with the Perfection line and the Kraut line.
Right.
And like their historical relevance is great, but there were again so many players to choose from, especially from that era. So
right.
I couldn't really justify putting them anywhere else. Next up is Joe Thornton.
Jumbo Joe,
the only player to win the Hart Trophy in the season he got traded.
I know.
So it's hard to deny that he's an honorable mention. Like the guy, I think he's the last Hart winner Boston had. So,
but I think he's known more to be a Shark.
I think he is known more to be a Shark. You're correct, but you know what? As a Bruins fan, I'm just glad to know we had him first.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And there are certain players I'm glad we had first. Phil Kessel is not one of them. I hate Phil Kessel with every ounce of my body.
We add another banner.
Here we go.
It was just the moment John Scott tried to fight him, and he just absolutely just axe hammered his ankles. I'm like, that's breaking the code. You can't do that. And my last one is Pasternak. He has an opportunity, obviously, to get on this first and second team, but as of right now, there's too many above him to justify.
I don't think he's been there long enough.
You're right.
Yeah.
I think he's been there, 6 years now?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, you're absolutely right, because I will tell you, and a matter of fact, before we go into my honorable mentions, I do want to say Adam Oates is a very interesting choice. And one thing I want to say about Adam Oates, for somebody who is so talented and put up the numbers that he did, it's amazing how many teams he played for.
Yeah,
I mean, he bounced around for somebody who's so talented. I can never figure it out.
You would think that somebody like him would try to get locked up for a long-term deal.
Right.
The guy was just a wizard when it came to passing. Like you would think a team would be like, that's a valuable resource right there. Let's just keep him around. No, how many teams did he play for? He played for Washington, Anaheim, Boston,
I think it was like
St.
7.
Louis.
Yeah.
So many teams. Like,
yeah, could never figure that out.
Yeah, I can't. I don't get it. Unless he just did not like staying in one place and he just wanted to travel.
Maybe he's just one of those. Maybe he's like one of those guys who likes to live in a camper and just kind of like travels around instead of living in a house.
I mean, when you make that much money, I don't hate
why not, right? Yeah. Exactly. Wish I could.
Yeah, no, I wish I could too.
All right, so here's my honorable mentions, and I'll start off with the ones that I agree with you on. Okay. So Tim Thomas is on my list. Okay. Pasta's on my list. The Kraut line is on my list, and Adam Oates is on my list too. But I got a few more to add.
Okay.
And I'll start with my goalies, Tiny Thompson, who was a Hall of Fame goaltender from the early days. Yes. Here's the thing about, and I've always said it's so hard to compare eras. Right?
Exactly.
Especially when you're talking about modern day, going all the way back to the beginning. But I think that's even more difficult with goaltenders because of the obvious equipment changes, rules changes, whatnot.
Just stylistic play alone.
Yeah, exactly. So do I think that he would have been able to compete? Boy, I don't know.
No, not a chance.
But the numbers say in his era, and he's a Hall of Famer, that he deserves to be at least an honorable mention. And I also put Andy Moog in there, because I know he wasn't a Bruin that long, but he did lead them to 2 finals.
Yes.
So
I think Andy Moog is an enigma because, like, he
was so snake bitten,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Here's the guy. He makes it to 2 finals, and who's he got to play? The team that he originally played for in the Edmonton Oilers when they were at the peak of their dynasty.
And then it's just he had a thankless job.
Oh, he did. He did.
It's like any goalie in the Central Division and Pacific Division right now. Who are you going to compete with? McDavid?
Right.
You got to stop McDavid. You got to stop Gretzky and Lemieux.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly.
Goalies back then, I would not want to be a part of that era as a goalie.
Right. Exactly.
That late 80s, early 90s, Gretzky, Lemieux dominance.
No way.
Not a chance.
So my behind the bench on my honorable mentions is Art Ross, who was another coaching legend from the early days who put up a lot of win numbers. Again, we're talking different eras. There is a trophy named after him. So, hey, you know what? He deserves to be on the honorable mention list in my eyes anyways.
I thought about putting a coach on my honorable mention list because just for namesake alone, Don Cherry, I feel like could deserve to be on that list. But he just wasn't that good of a coach.
Well,
take controversy aside, take his coaching style aside, or put his coaching style like in the forefront. The guy was a spectacle, and that's it.
Yeah, he's like John Tortorella.
Yeah, exactly. I think John Tortorella at one point was a phenomenal coach, and now he's just somebody who's a quote machine, and they pay him just to be funny.
Exactly.
That's what I get paid.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm sitting next to one.
The only reason I'm here is just to be funny.
I hope you're getting paid well then.
Yeah,
big
exactly.
Bucks. Hey, for Scott, it's massive. Yeah.
I think you need to find somebody to restructure your deal here.
I don't know.
I need a better agent.
I was going to say, whoever's representing him really needs to be fired.
I know. Show me the money.
Just to finish it up, I got Terry O'Reilly. I got Kenny Hodge. And one defenseman, and that's Zdeno Chara as an honorable mention, which I'm sure we're going to hear that name again.
Yes, we're definitely going to hear a couple of those names again.
I think we're going to have a little bit of debate coming up next year. So without further ado, why don't we shift gears and go to our second team all-star, all-time Boston Bruins team. Once again, Eddie, I will let you lead off, and I want to know who is the coach behind this bench of this all-star team.
The coach for my second team all-star, Harry Sinden.
Oh, interesting.
Coached from 1966 to 1970 and then had two individual seasons in 1979-80 and 84-85. 327 games coached, all with the Bruins. 153 wins and 116 losses and 58 ties. It's back when we had to factor in ties.
Right.
He was the 1970 Stanley Cup winning coach. The guy built two Stanley Cup teams. Built from the ground up. At that point, the Bruins were, I think, in a 29-year drought. Mm-hmm. They were at one point the laughingstock of the league, and he goes out and finds Bobby Orr. He goes out and finds a deal for Phil Esposito. He goes out and gets some legendary players. Derek Sanderson, Jerry Cheevers. Johnny Busick. You gotta – yeah. There's no – because back then, Coach GM kind of synonymous with one another. Like they were kind of like a manager in baseball back then. Mm-hmm. So this guy built two Stanley Cup winning teams, but he did the Steve Yzerman thing and bounced before that second one. Yeah. Which, you know what? It's always funny about Harry Sinden with me. I almost forgot that he actually coached. I've always thought of him as because he was GM for almost 30 years, I think, right? I think he was GM for that other cup. Yeah, me too. I think he was. Yeah, and that's why I was so surprised that he bounced for 72. It's incredible, right? He did such a great job that, you would think he would just stay behind the bench. The guy knew hockey. Yeah, absolutely. For never playing in a high level of NHL, the guy knew the game. Oh, no doubt. No doubt about it. Like Lou Lamoriello or any of these other guys who you couldn't, Brian Burke. I can't picture that guy on skates. Right. I can't. Right. His old fat ass? Hell no. Hell no. I can't picture him on skates, but the guy just knows puck. I can't deny it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So who are your two defensemen? All right. My two defensemen. I'm going to start off with Brad Park. Okay. 1975 to 1983, 8 seasons with the Bruins. 100 goals, 317 assists for 417 points. What he brought, though, was very much a stay-at-home defenseman kind of what 1970s hockey was. You didn't have, besides Bobby Orr, you didn't have anyone to wheel the puck up. You didn't have a Drew Doughty, or you didn't have Dougie Hamiltons and players who could handle the puck that well. So for being a stay-at-home defenseman, getting 100 goals in 8 seasons with the Bruins and tallying 417 points, it's hard to deny his offensive impact and offensive skill back then.
Right.
And what he did backstopping and helping the goaltender out and keeping the puck out of the net, he was a phenomenal defenseman. He wasn't really rewarded with a cup, but he was very much, staying in Boston for 8 seasons, especially back then, meant you were valuable in some aspect of the game.
Well, and don't forget the pressure that he came in because he was part of the Phil Esposito trade.
Exactly.
So that was like earth-shattering at the time.
The Phil Esposito trade was, I don't know how you traded him. I don't know how they traded him. I really don't understand that. I think that's one of the dumbest trades in hockey history.
Yeah, maybe there was contracts that, stuff that we didn't know about at the time or whatever. But yeah, that was really shocking. But the thing about Brad Park is he was always so underrated.
Yes,
he really was.
You don't think Brad Park when you think Bruins defenseman.
Exactly. And he did play most of his, his Boston time in Bobby Orr's shadow.
Yeah,
but still, he was so underrated,
he was a part of that Esposito trade, and he followed up the Bobby Orr years when he was in Chicago. The guy had a fit, he was out there and everyone just getting micromanaged.
Right.
We wasted an Esposito trade on you. You're not Bobby Orr, and the guy shined. The guy was so good.
Exactly. Who's on the other side?
Zdeno Chara.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Again, when you hear Boston Bruins defenseman and you think of 2 people. So, but you can't deny Zdeno Chara to be on this list. I think Zdeno Chara, who played 14 seasons, the majority of his career so far with the Bruins, and I believe it's going to be winding down soon. His career, he's older.
Yeah.
The league's getting nothing but younger, so it's hard to sit there and say he's going to be a mainstay in the NHL much longer. But 148 goals, 370 assists for 518 points. The guy was a Norris candidate almost every year. Even though he wasn't getting points, the guy was such a good defenseman. Helped bring the cup back to Boston where it belongs.
Mm-hmm.
He was the longest tenured captain in the league at one point. I think he predated Crosby by days.
Right.
So he was just a synonymous leader, one of the greatest captains in Bruins history. And I find it almost impossible to leave him off this list.
He's played for so long. I actually forgot that he played 14 years in Boston.
Yeah.
It's just, but yeah, what an impactful guy he was. And I'll tell you, that was really difficult for me to put him on the honorable mention list. It really was. I'm
really curious because I know who your first team defensemen are. We all know who.
That's kind of a no-brainer.
That one's a no-brainer. But I want to know your 2 defensemen. I got to know this.
Okay, so we'll go back. Okay, I like that. So we agree on Brad Park.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I went with Eddie Shore. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because it was really tough between him and Chara. I was going back and forth. I was like, man. But the difference for me between Eddie Shore and Zdeno Chara, obviously we just talked about it. It's hard to compare eras. But when Eddie Shore played, he was so dominant at his position. Granted, I understand it was a different game back then. I understand that. But Eddie Shore, I think he won a couple of Hart trophies himself. Excuse me. He won 4 or 5 Norris trophies. He was that dominant as a player and had such a huge impact. And not only that, Dave will tell you from some of the Zamboni time machines we've done.
Yeah. He was there, wasn't he?
Character. What's that?
Dave?
Dave played for him in Springfield.
So I did. You remembered that, Ed, huh? Yeah. I think I got hit by a puck.
I think Dave was the one that was tied to the goal at one point.
Yeah, it was. That and I had the beer can out in front of me,
Yeah.
but that's a whole other story.
But yeah, I had to go with Eddie Shore just for, like I said, the impact that he had on the game at the time that he was playing. But again, believe me, it was no easy decision. So I mean, we're really, for me, it was splitting hairs.
Yeah, it really is like, I mean, when you compare eras like that, apples to oranges and stuff like that.
Right.
But when you compare like impact, like it really is like what you said, splitting hairs. It's so difficult to make that one. That's the one decision that I had a hard time with.
Oh, and by the way, before we go to left wing, we did leave one little bit out. My coach. Who's my coach? My coach is the incomparable Don Cherry. Listen, I know, yeah, but he did make 2 Stanley Cup finals.
He did.
And he damn near pulled it off.
He damn near did.
He really did. I mean, he was like a meteor. I mean, he was a ball of fire that kind of came through. But like I said, just for that alone, I had to go with Don Cherry. Had to. Because really, when you think Don Cherry or you think coaching Boston Bruins, in my mind, the first name that comes up is Don Cherry.
Well, that's because you're old.
Well, yeah, but so what? I'm sorry you weren't alive when he was still okay.
I have other first coaches in mind.
So,
I have other coaches in mind.
But anyways, why don't we go to your left wing? I want to know who your second team left wing is.
My second team left wing is Cam Neely.
Ooh.
Again, splitting hairs here with left wing.
Okay. I thought he played on the right side, but that's okay.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. I'm looking at the wrong part. Brad Marchand is my left wing.
Okay.
Brad Marchand is my left wing. So far, 12 seasons played in his entire career. 351 goals, 444 assists for damn near 800 points, 795 points.
Right.
The guy is just good.
Yeah.
The only reason why he's not first team All-Star is because his career hasn't been that long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But the fact that he's 12 years in and already an all-time great.
7th overall scorer in Bruins history.
Yeah, like
already.
You got to look at it as, his numbers is going to be in the rafters one day.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
I mean, with that and like,
and it would be so awesome if they put a little rat right next to it.
Oh man, it'd
be perfect.
They got to do something. But like, I'm looking at the Bruins I grew up watching, starting with that 2011 team. I already could pick like 4 names that should get their numbers in the rafters. Like 4 or 5 players. So the fact that he's on that list at such a young age is just great. Like,
mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Who's your left wing?
So we agree on this one. We do. Because honestly, when I was looking through the lists, the Bruins have been blessed with a lot of unbelievable right wingers, but the left wingers are kind of like, Then I looked in it, and I didn't realize just how far up Marchand was on their all-time leading scoring list.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Agree, disagree with the way he plays, whatever. That's all. Yeah, exactly.
I love
whatever.
Him. I mean, the guy.
Whatever. But the fact of the matter is when he's on the ice, he produces and he has an impact, and you can't deny what he's done.
Yeah.
And the Bruins right now would not be the same without him.
Absolutely.
So
we'll definitely
we
get
agree.
more about into him when we talk about the season outlook.
Oh, yes. Yes, we will.
Yes.
Wow, we agree on left wing. Oh, boy, this is going to be scary. How about center? Who you got for a center?
Okay, center was tough. Center is probably the toughest position to choose. My center is Phil Esposito. So he won 2 cups with the Bruins. He played, I think, 13 seasons there, most of his career. Loved Boston. There was a story I heard from an interview from him when he got traded. Bobby Orr was the one that broke the news to him. He went over to his room and he's just like, "Hey, Phil, we got to talk." And he's like, "Just tell me it's not the Rangers." True story. I'm not even making that up to bust on Rangers.
I know.
That's a completely true story.
Gump would be pissed.
It would have been, right?
I know. I wish he was here to hear that.
I know, right?
But he ate up New York he loved it there. Ended up loving it there, unfortunately. But the guy scored. The guy knew how to put the puck in the net. 459 goals and 1,012 assists for 1,471 points with the Bruins.
Yeah.
The guy was good. And making that decision was between him and my first team center. It was literally would he be able to be successful in today's game or as successful as the guy on my first team?
Right. Because Espo obviously did all his damage from 20 feet in.
Yeah.
Right. He wasn't going to be the guy that was going to dazzle you with stick handling work. He wasn't going to be the guy that's going to dazzle you with that no-look pass. But underneath the dots and in that dirty area,
the guy was golden.
During his era, there was nobody better.
Nobody better. Honestly, I think during his era, period, there was nobody better. Like when he played for the Bruins, I want to say he was probably the best player in the league. Up there, at least. It was between him and Bobby Orr.
Well, don't forget about guys like Bobby Hull. Bobby
Hull was in the WHA at that point.
Almost, yeah, just about.
So, the Golden Jet was on his way out, going to Winnipeg.
Yeah, following the money.
Yep. Honestly,
at that time, you can't blame him. Exactly.
I don't blame him.
Exactly.
You know what? At this time, I don't blame him. This time, no. You blame that.
Exactly.
Go get paid.
On a little side note, WHA, I wish that had actually survived. That would have been interesting.
I wish a lot of these, I noticed in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of competition leagues. So
right.
You had the WHA, you had the what's the football note? The USFL. You had what was the one for basketball? Or the
American Basketball Association,
the ABA. And I wish all those leagues survived because, let's face it, they have a monopoly.
Right. It would have made things so much more interesting.
I would have loved to see the Birmingham Bulls play the another what was it, the Los Angeles Sharks?
Yeah,
Bull Shark.
Yeah.
Just have those competition leagues. It would be cool. Let's face it, the KHL archaic. Bring all those players over here and let's restart the WHA.
Yeah, there you go. I agree. Okay, my friend, right wing. Who is on this?
Who's your center?
My center was Esposito.
Oh, your center was
Esposito. We're agreeing across the board. Wow. That's how I'm just kind of going, I can't believe this is happening. I just can't.
It's making for great radio.
Yeah, exactly. Bob, and we're probably going to agree on right wing, so go ahead and hit me because I think you already said it.
Cam Neely.
Yep, that's mine too.
Yep, 10 seasons. Obviously, every opportunity in the world to be on that first team, but injuries and Ulf Samuelsson took that away from him. I hate Ulf Samuelsson.
I was just going to say, that's why I was starting to laugh. I'm like, oh boy, here comes a tirade about Ulf Samuelsson.
Yeah, Ulf Samuelsson is the dirtiest player in NHL history.
Wow.
To me, there's no dirtier move than the knee-on-knee.
What? You just gave me a fantastic idea. Dave, you know what we got to do?
No.
We got to do a Dirty Player Hall of Fame show. That's what we got to do.
Are there enough
Eddie
people
Shore,
for that?
Ulf Samuelsson, Brad Marchand, Tom Wilson. Okay.
Tom Lemieux.
I love Tom
we got to get Jeremy back for that one.
Yeah, here we go.
Tom Wilson's one of those players that you hate because he's not on your team.
Yeah, exactly.
Brad Marchand. If Marchand was an LA King, you'd love him.
Exactly. Complain about him all you want, but you certainly That's for you, Jeremy Roberts. Just for you.
It's always handy.
That's the thing. I love Tom Wilson. I just wish he was a Bruin.
I
love him.
Exactly. Yeah, I got Cam Neely too. And you know what? He's another one of those guys. You forgot he was there for 10 years.
See, I think a lot of people remember him obviously as a Bruin because he was there for a majority of his career. He started off in Vancouver.
Yeah, and that was another brilliant Harry Sinden trade.
And that
because they traded away Barry Peterson, who had one great season.
Yeah.
Sold while the stock was high,
Yeah.
And then Barry Peterson kind of faded off into obscurity, and Cam Neely became a superstar.
Yep. And I want to get my hands on one of those Flying V Canucks jerseys.
They're you know what? Back then, everybody thought they were so ugly, but they're so classic now.
Oh my God, they're so ugly, but I need one.
I'm surprised you don't have one, actually.
Honestly, it's because I hate the Canucks so much.
Jeez.
2011 really, like, I hated the Comets because they were associated with the Canucks.
Yeah, but you won.
Listen, they were such sore losers about it that it made it unbearable.
You mean to tell me you didn't like enjoy how sore they were? How sore losers they were.
Listen, I remember watching the Bruins lose the 2019 Stanley Cup Final to the St. Louis Blues, and I didn't put a single hole in a wall. They destroyed
probably too many already there, wasn't there?
No, there wasn't. Oh, a couple from shooting pucks, but nothing malicious, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Malicious. They destroyed a whole city.
I know.
How do you?
You want to talk about the ultimate meltdown? My God.
Where was Ilya Brozgalov and mad? Just going, why you have to be mad? It's just a game. He was hitting it. And like, I look back and I kind of like a little bit of me, like, I'm glad Boston won. It's the only cup I've watched Boston lift. But I wish Roberto Luongo got one.
Yeah.
He would have been a nice
Bobby Lou.
He would have been. I think that's what's going to make him a second ballot Hall of Famer. You know, he's going to have to wait a little bit.
Right. Okay, so we're just about in total agreement on this second team All-Star. Who is between the pipes for you?
Jerry Cheevers.
And we're all the way across the board. I can't believe this, except for one defenseman.
Except for Chara.
Except for one defenseman. But this one was tough, Eddie. This was tough.
I don't know. It's a
It
little boring when you guys agree.
I know, right?
Wow,
like I said, it makes for great radio.
No, it's
putting Jerry Cheevers on second team was tough because of the two cups.
And the mask.
And the mask is iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually, I want to get that mask tattooed on me. So.
Just now, wait a second. Oh, I thought you meant you were going to get the stitches tattooed all over your face.
No.
There's only one spot that mask would fit. I don't know. We want to see it.
Scott will see it in the locker room.
Yeah, I know. Right? Thanks.
You just in their pants down for him.
Yeah, too much information.
Thanks, Dave, because you just cursed me to something I will never be able to unsee in my entire life again. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Bat wings.
That's why I'm here.
You're such a pal.
Yep.
Oh boy, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I was having a hard time between this one and really Tim Thomas. I had a hard time.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, Cheevers wasn't there all that long either, because he went to the WHA as well.
Yes, Jerry Cheevers was there for 8 seasons. And
you know,
realistically, reading his stats, they're not remarkable for now, but they're remarkable for back then.
Yeah, and there it is, right there.
And you really, the way you have to look at it is, back then teams were putting up 5 goals like nothing.
Right.
Like, it was, the stand-up goalie style was never good, especially because the pads aren't flush with the ice. Like, I don't get why they were standing up. So him having a 3.12 goals against average and a .905 save percentage is incredibly remarkable.
For that time, yeah. And that's exactly what it was for me too, because like I'm looking at, and Thomas's numbers are actually better.
Yes,
but you have to take in like you said, into the context of the time.
And also, like Tim Thomas, he was such an anarchist in the net. Like the guy would come out 10 feet to challenge the shooter. Tim Thomas would come out and he would punch you in the face to steal the puck, which is literally happened.
Yeah. It was his tribute to Ron Hextall and Billy Smith. Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was the next coming of Ron Hextall and Billy Smith, and that's kind of what my dad appreciated about him. He's like, we were watching the Stanley Cup Finals, and when he hit Daniel Sedin, he was like, that reminds me a lot of Billy Smith when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I said, wow, Dad, you're old. That was a long time ago. And he punched me and said, stop being mean.
Yeah.
He used more colorful language on that.
That's great. That is awesome. Well, buddy, we're down to our first team, and I got a feeling we're going to be pretty much in agreement across the board. So I'm going to take the mystery out of the defenseman because, I mean, it's pretty obvious that we both picked Ray Bourque and Bobby Orr.
Yes.
I don't know how else you could possibly even remotely fathom picking anybody else with those two.
I mean, yes, you're absolutely
even the ultimate contrarian couldn't do it, right?
The only thing I could say any other defenseman has one up on either one of them is Chara with the cup, and he has that up Bourque. But other than that, I mean, 395 goals, 1,111 assists for 1,500 points in 21 years.
Yeah.
No. you can't.
No. There's also a lot of players out there that have one Stanley Cup that are nowhere near Ray Bourque. So that's
exactly. And actually, when we got Ray Bourque out of the way, who was my idol growing up, really don't know why. I actually don't. Like, I play a completely different style than him defensively. But we got him out of the way. Bobby Orr. I actually have some brought on some Bobby Orr facts with me. The only defenseman to score 9 hat tricks. Like, you don't hear defenseman. He's the first and only player to play defense to score 9 hat tricks. That many. First defenseman to score 30 goals and 40 goals in a season. So he was just breaking boundaries. The guy was an extra offenseman. Only defenseman to win the Lester B. Pearson. Only player ever to win the Norris, Art Ross, Hart, and Conn Smythe in one season. So suck on that, Kel McCarr.
I'm sure he heard that, and now he's going to be motivated. You know
what?
Way to go.
I'll challenge him.
I think somebody's going to get punched in the face.
Yeah,
again.
here we go. Danbury Whalers. Here we go.
I could take a couple more. I got some.
But you're 30 now. You're old.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
I'm getting old, but I could take a couple more.
Okay.
I think I got them in me. The highest ever single season plus minus rating with a plus 124, which is unreal. Like, you don't think plus 124 in today's game. Like,
yeah,
what are you, plus
absolutely
50, plus at most plus 60.
Right.
124 is unfathomable. Like Gretzky numbers right there.
Right.
If his career would have lasted a little longer, I feel like his number 4 could be retired throughout the league.
I wanted to say something about that because there are a few out there that believe that Bobby Orr was the greatest player that ever lived. And I understand where they're coming from. But my beef with that is if he had just played longer, and I understand, the knees gave out, and it's one of the great tragedies of hockey.
Yes.
That injuries derailed him the way they did. Because had he played for 20 years, I think there's an actual legit argument that you could actually make for that. Because of what he was doing and revolutionizing the game the way he did.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how many?
Obviously he's on the Mount Rushmore of hockey, but
I would put him top 4 players of all time.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it.
And when it comes to point production, actually, I'll put him top 5. I'll put him, top 5. Top 5.
You know what it reminds
He's number
me of?
5 for me.
It reminds me of like Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux had to miss a lot of time because of what he went through with the cancer and his back injuries and all that. It just makes you wonder what could have been. Yeah,
and if Bobby, and this is where it comes from, Bobby Orr, if you were to take his game and put it today, he'd be a all-star every year.
Oh yeah,
every year.
Yeah, for everybody that was oohing and ahhing over Erik Karlsson, Bobby Orr, apples to apples, would have put him to shame.
Yeah, Erik Karlsson's nothing.
Not now. I'm talking about when when he was in Ottawa and turning it up the way he was.
Yeah, no, he's still nothing compared to Bobby Orr.
Yeah,
Erik Karlsson at his peak and compared to Bobby Orr at his peak.
Right. Nothing. Well, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
So we've as a league we've seen this before.
Yeah.
So let's get to the interesting.
Hold on, before we get to the rest of the line, who's your coach?
My coach is Claude Julien.
Me too. Oh my God. Oh no, we're gonna put Dave to sleep. But you also can't. He's got the whole time.
I have.
You would never guess that he grew up in Massachusetts.
You didn't even do a drum roll for any of this, I mean,
well, you were sleeping. I couldn't. I should have went over and hit the button to wake you up. Yeah, all-time winningest coach in Bruins history. You can't argue with that.
For a historical franchise, there's less. I've noticed there's less argument over the greatest of whatever for these historical franchises. Like we all know who the greatest Red Wings are of all time, the greatest Canadians.
Right.
It's the smaller teams that get
Yeah, that's right.
The Anaheim Ducks, the even the King. The Kings not so much because Marcel Dion.
Yeah,
all that. So, but like the Ducks or like the Sharks and those newer teams, those are the ones you're going to have real debate on.
Oh yeah. So we're all in agreement here so far, coaches and defensemen.
Yep.
How about your left wing?
My left wing. Let me pull up Johnny Busick.
Yep.
It's hard to deny it. I mean, 21 seasons. I mean, he was the longest tenured captain at the point of his retirement until Ray Bourque took over. 445 goals, 794 assists for 1,339 points. The Chief could score.
Second all-time leading scorer in Bruins history.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's much doubt about that one.
No. I mean,
that was the no-brainer of, well, almost in the same breath of, Orr and Bourque. It's like, who else are you going to put in that spot?
Yeah. I think the debate really comes with centers because Boston's only had like a few good centers.
As a matter of fact, you know what? Since we both agree on left wing, why don't we go to that?
Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, this one was hard, though. This was hard.
It was. This was the toss-up.
I tell you, I struggled with that one. I did, but you know what swayed me in the end was not only, he's been there 19 years, but he's also ahead of Esposito on the scoring list.
Yep.
And the defensive ability is out of this world.
Yes.
One of the greatest defensive forwards of all time. So given those two together, sorry, Phil, but you're on the second team, and that's all there is to it.
I think Patrice Bergeron is he kind of revolutionized playing defense as an offenseman in today's game. Like there was a while there where everyone played offense. Defense was not really that taken care of, but goalies' pads were so big that it took care of itself.
Yeah.
And Patrice Bergeron was able to go out there and play defense as a center. And
I think
so good at it.
Right. I think actually, and to me, he didn't revolutionize it. He took it to the next level.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of that started with Bob Gainey.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, taken over by Guy Carbonneau for a while back in the day. Even Steve Casper, who was a Bruin, didn't quite have the offensive abilities, of course. But when the Bruins played the Oilers or the Kings, when Gretzky was there, who was assigned to shadow Gretzky? It was Steve Casper.
Yep.
So, but no, I totally get what you're saying. Totally get it. And like I said, the entire body of work, there it is.
I mean, the guy can score. He can play defense. He's just the all-around probably. When you think of hockey players and you think of Wayne Gretzky's and stuff like that, you know them for points. So when you think of an offenseman, you think of them as points. And Patrice Bergeron's one of those players that you think of who's a defensive.
Right.
He's a shining star defensively, but he also has points. So, like, you can't really – that's his X factor.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolute X factor. The guy can play defense. I think he's probably going to go down as one of the best centers to play the game positionally.
Okay, could be. But now, Dave, wake up because we're going to have some debate here.
Oh, we
got debate coming.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
All right. Right wing. We're going to have a debate.
Yes.
I want to hear it. Who do you got?
Terry O'Reilly.
Wow. You got me out of left field on that one. Was it because he went to the crowd for a fight?
That's a portion of it. The guy was but I'm not kidding though. That is a portion of it. He went up. The guy was a captain through and through. He didn't have the points and the accolades, but he spent his entire career in Boston, 13 seasons, 606 points, 204 goals. But the guy defended his team, and in that era, that 70s, 80s era, which is like the era of the enforcer. He was the baddest. And he had the C on his chest for a little bit. And he was just overall one of the most, like, he had the utmost respect for his teammates. He would fight to hell and back for them. So you can't make a team like this combining eras like this without putting one of the greatest defensive players of all time when it comes to defending his teammates.
I mean, and honestly, I thought a couple times during the '88 finals he was actually going to come off the bench. You recall he was the Bruins coach.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to dive over the boards a couple times, but that's
would that have surprised you?
No, not at all. So mine is Rick Middleton.
I respect the Rick Middleton.
Because it's like I was saying to you earlier, right? When you look, and honestly, I did miss one on the honorable mention was Wayne Cashman as well.
Yep.
I did miss that. But Rick Middleton is the 5th all-time leading scorer in Boston Bruins history. He was there for 12 years, got 402 goals, 496 assists. That's nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's
not. And I totally get where you're coming from with Terry O'Reilly, and there's, that's very valid. It's just if I'm going to put together a first team all-time all-star team, I want Ricky Middleton on that right wing flank.
I see where you come from.
So does the dog.
We both, the dog and I agree.
Get him in here. Find out who he agrees with. Just split the tie.
That dog and he's our old dog. So in dog years, he's about 10 years younger than your co-host.
I'm not so sure about that.
Oh man.
Oh geez.
But yeah, that's so there's my reasoning behind that. Again, it's all beauty's in the eye of the beholder, as they say.
So like my main aspect of putting Terry O'Reilly on this list is you think of Bruins, you think of big bad Bruins. You think of them going up against the Broad Street Bullies. You think of them going up into the crowd of Madison Square Garden and fighting Rangers fans and not even Rangers players. And they're all just sitting around looking at each other dumbfounded that this is happening. So you can't have this list without a big bad Bruin. I mean, the biggest, baddest of all time.
Right. That's
Terry, so when I was a kid, I had the Rock'em Sock'em, Don Cherry Rock'em Sock'em.
Yep.
Because my dad had them, and I would watch them all the time. So it was
still got them.
Still, yeah. Oh yeah, they're somewhere in my parents' attic. But you don't think Bruins without thinking Terry O'Reilly, without thinking Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
And, even when Marty McSorley almost beheaded Donald Brashear, you can't think of Bruins without thinking of that.
Right. True enough. Okay, so I think we're going to go back to the land of agreeing here, though, because now we're going to go to our all-time Bruins goalie. Yeah. And let's just say it at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Tuukka Rask. Yeah.
There's a reason why I have a Tuukka Rask poster folded out or rolled up in my hockey room at the house. There's a reason why Tuukka Rask is my all-time favorite goalie. Winningest goalie in Bruins history. Everyone calls him a choker when really there was a lot of things that why they lost those 2 cups that wasn't Tuukka Rask's fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
You weren't getting there without Tuukka Rask.
No, not at all.
Even the 2011 Cup, you weren't getting there without Tuukka Rask because he was able to backstop Tim Thomas when he needed it.
Right, exactly. And if you look at the overall body of work and the overall numbers don't lie.
No, not at all.
And yeah, you got to go with them. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, no, Tuukka Rask is I think he goes down as a top 5. Not top 5, no, far from that. Probably top 20 goalie of all time.
Could very well be. You
obviously will have the Brodeur, even Marc-Andre Fleury. You could kind of snake up there in the top 10. But Tuukka Rask, I think, when all is said and done, he could be a top 20 goalie of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer, Vezina Cup.
Yeah. I mean, could be. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And so what we're going to do here is we're going to shift gears, right?
Okay.
And we're eventually going to be going into modern day times.
Yes.
Well, before we do that, we're going to do breakaway trivia and we're going to do a commercial break because we haven't done breakaway trivia in a few weeks and I miss it. So, and Dave is over here chomping at the bit now because he gets to guess.
Oh.
See? So, anyways, breakaway trivia for this week. And this is just for you, Eddie. I want to know, how many times have the Boston Bruins been in the Stanley Cup final? The answer when we come back.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city and the area. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication, the Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our country music streaming radio station, or sign up for a weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mylittlefalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
Ed, doesn't that music make you want to run right through a wall?
Yeah, actually, that music was pretty intense for Little Falls.
It is. I'm telling you, it just reminds me of Rocky every single time. I can't help it.
It's like a bad sports movies song.
You know what we got to do? We got to get footage of like Dave running down Main Street with a bunch of kids chasing him. To close that out with.
No.
I like that idea.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think
as long as you said downhill.
Downhill. Well, just for you, we'll go downhill.
Downhill. Yeah.
We'll have you run from like that Stewart's all the way down to like the M&T Bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I could do that. Stopping would be an issue, but
yeah, that'd be the best part. Just watch him roll down the hill.
It could be worse. We could have you start over at the baseball field and have you work.
Oh, jeez.
No, hell no.
No, we need to get a wagon out for that.
Yeah, no, not going to happen.
Okay, breakaway trivia. I'll give it to you guys one more time. How many times have the Boston Bruins made it to the Stanley Cup final? Before Eddie answers, Dave, go ahead and just throw a guess out there.
12.
Okay. Eddie.
11.
You're both wrong. Actually, you sold your team short. It's 20.
20?
What?
They made it to the final.
Because they didn't have – that's because back in the day, they'd lose to Montreal every other year.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
yeah, but at least I was one closer than he was.
Well, I guess we're going to split hairs, you know.
Yeah,
all right.
I'll take any hair I can
won
get.
The Price is Right way.
And you're the poor guy said you could run downhill for the commercial, and this is the way you treat.
I didn't say the word run, but I could go downhill.
I did though.
I know now you're going full on sprint.
Yeah, I'll be the one carrying your camera, so be careful.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
I'll give Scott a car.
Yeah.
Give me a car.
Be like the XFL.
Yeah.
Just the sky cam, just gliding down.
That was nuts. Didn't like it. Didn't like the drone coverage either.
No,
thought it was annoying.
XFL. Well, that's because you weren't doing it. You would have been having a blast if you were doing it.
I would have been. Oh hell yeah! If I'd been flying it, but it was annoying from a watching the game standpoint.
True.
The XFL was completely underrated.
Yeah.
I love the XFL
Anyway.
Original rendition.
Exactly.
Running from the goal line to the
just colliding it.
Just absolutely
insanity.
Just trucking each other. That league created CTE.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh boy. Well, Ed, we are on the eve of a brand new hockey season.
Yes.
Where all 32 teams in the NHL, all 32 teams in the AHL, everybody all across North America and the European world all have hopes for a brand new season and a championship in their respective leagues.
Yes.
Being the Boston Bruins super fan that you are, tell me, how's your season looking?
We're not making the playoffs. We're missing the playoffs by a few points.
Wow. Honesty. I like it.
Yeah.
So tell me why.
Well, starting off the season real weak. Marchand injured, had surgery. McAvoy injured, had surgery. Grzelcyk injured, had surgery. Those three being out, two of them in like high key pieces. Like, I mean, right now when you think of modern day Boston, you think of those two of the players. Grzelcyk, I put him in a little bit lower of a tier. Currently, my favorite Bruin is Matt Grzelcyk personally. But those three being out is just, it's railroads the season. Mm-hmm. You're losing two key point contributors right there. You're losing a key defensive defenseman. You can't have a season like that.
Right.
I mean, it's we're already, I think even with LTIR, we're, I think, $500,000 over the cap, so you got to shed somebody. And I think that's going to be Craig Smith. And that's not even getting into the goalie situation.
Yeah.
I think last year's signing of Linus Allmark was garbage the day it was announced.
Well, 5 years. That's a little tough to swallow.
5 years, $4 million a year. Like that's a bit. If they got him maybe for 2.5 to 3, I wouldn't be so upset. But that's a lot of money for a goalie that's going to become a backup.
Right.
So I think Swayman's going to be the starter unanimously. I mean, the kid's good. The kid's phenomenal. You got to give him that. You got to give him that net. And Linus Allmark, I mean, he was good for Buffalo standards.
Yeah, Allmark is one of those goalies who's a really good 1B.
Yeah, he's a really good 1B, but you don't play him against rivalry games.
Right.
You'll play like I don't mind watching Allmark play against teams that I don't care about. Like,
right.
Let him play the Blue Jackets.
Yeah. There you go.
Let him play the Panthers. I don't mind losing to them. But when we're playing Toronto, the Rangers, the Islanders, Pittsburgh, I want Swayman in that.
Yeah.
But I can see Boston at the very most. I mean, we saw the Eastern Conference last year. You needed 110 points to make the playoffs. So Boston may get 95, but we're in a different era now where you need 110 points to make the playoffs.
And the biggest part of the problem is too. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
you're fine.
Just wanted to interject real quick that everybody in the Eastern Conference, it seemed, got better.
Yes,
except for the Islanders, who couldn't do anything in free agency.
Yeah, the Islanders got worse. Boston stayed still. Do I think Columbus made enough changes to overtake some of those spots? Not quite. I personally think Columbus is going to miss the playoffs. Also, same margin with Boston, but now with Johnny Gaudreau there, you're going to see players want to go there.
Yeah.
With Patrick Laine staying, players are going to go there. With Boston, we need to re-sign Pastrnak first and foremost. We got to get that contract done because without Pastrnak, we're not going to attract any big name talent.
Right.
Not one bit. Without, with Bergeron being at the tail end of his career, the re-signing of Krejci, who's already on the tail end of his career, which I love the fact they brought back Krejci. A year gone from Boston, a year gone from the NHL, and a year just in the Czech League. I mean, you can't assume, but nothing but the guy got a little worse.
Well, that's the thing too, Ed, because I mean, I know a lot of Bruins fans, and I see a lot on social media where Bruins fans, a lot of them automatically when Krejci was coming back and Bergeron re-signed. Oh, that's it. There's the team we got. We're going to the Cup. And I'm like,
it's far from that.
Yeah, you definitely needed Bergeron to come back. I mean, I wonder how much longer he's going to be able to maintain this level of production with Bergeron. But with Krejci, it's like, oh, our second line's set now. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. He's almost 40 years old. And he's been out of the league for over a year. And honestly, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy, but he wasn't that great in the Czech League last year.
Well,
and we're talking about a step down from the NHL.
I could only assume he kind of mailed it in the Czech League. Like, he won a cup. He got his name on it. Mail it in, which I don't think.
Well, boy, that's going to be awful hard to catch up to that pace of play again, though.
The league has done nothing but got faster in just 1 year.
Right.
You're seeing who's it? Austin Matthews had 100-point season. McDavid, Draisaitl, all these players are having 100-point years. I mean, the whole line in Calgary got the whole first line. They each had 105 points.
Yeah.
Krejci's in this league right now. Krejci's a fourth line center.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to that, to be honest with you. I really do. And, I was even saying, in our season end last year, teams like Boston and again, no offense, but they're not getting any younger. It's the same thing with Washington, the same thing with Pittsburgh. And honestly, I don't know if Pittsburgh really did the smart thing by bringing the whole band back together. I think they had a real opportunity there. I would have probably brought Letang back because defensemen are the hardest to replace outside of goalies.
See, I would have went.
But to bring Malkin back, I don't know about that.
I would have thrown Letang away like a used napkin. No, I'm not kidding though. Like Letang is a incredibly injury prone player. I mean,
that's true.
Concussions, hip injuries.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. If he was 100% healthy, he'd be the best defenseman in the league year in and year out.
He's also 35 years old.
And he's a little older. Malkin, he's starting to become injury prone.
Right.
So bringing the band back together is nothing but fan service. Just like bringing Krejci back to the Bruins is nothing but fan service. I mean, there's a lot of Bruins fans who were around for 2011 who grew up loving Bergeron, Krejci.
Sure.
And like I could off the back of my hand, I can name that whole 2011 team.
Right.
You never forget that. But I don't think it was the right thing to do. As a GM, Don Sweeney has been nothing but a disappointment.
Right.
Botched drafts, poor scouting, coaching changes that completely flabbergasted me. Like the way he handled them, I didn't like. What's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. They just fired him.
Oh, Cassidy?
Bruce Cassidy. I didn't care much for his coaching style, and listening to other interviews with players who were played for him saying he's a complete dirtbag, I believe it too.
Right.
Just judging by the way he carries himself and stuff like that. But I don't like the way his firing was handled. I don't like
it. Well, it just seemed very unorganized and hodgepodge.
Yeah, exactly. It was the team right now is put together by duct tape and bubble gums because of the injuries. At some point we have to look at it and say, is Don Sweeney really the best choice?
Right.
Like,
right.
Yeah, he's no Lou Lamoriello. At least he made a couple signings, but he's not good for the organization. He has a vision that fans don't agree with. Me, myself personally, I really don't agree with it. Like, I think the way Boston wins a cup again is by being the big bad Bruins. We need to compete with players like Tom Wilson and Ryan Reeves. We need to get a goalie like not quite Igor Shesterkin or Andrei Vasilevsky level, but at least comparable. Like Tuukka Rask, he got us to 2 cups single-handedly.
Yeah.
Tim Thomas won us the 2011 Cup. Like, it's hard to deny the fact that Boston isn't an offensive powerhouse.
Well, the worst part is there's not a lot coming through in the prospect pool.
There's a couple. Like Jack Studnicka, I think, is going to be a great player one day.
Right, but not quick enough to avoid a rebuild for now.
No, the rebuild is imminent. 5 years. I give it 5 more years. Bergeron's finally retired. Marchand's on his way out. Pasternak wants to go somewhere else, and Charlie McAvoy wants to trade. Jake DeBrusk is traded. Linus Allmark is gone. Jeremy Swayman is probably the last piece there. And
let me ask you a question. We can. This is how we can basically put the ball on it. I mean, the Pasternak situation. If the Bruins are offered a knock their socks off deal for him, do you pull the trigger and just say, you know what, we're going to collect a bunch of assets right now, and we're going to start the rebuild. We're going to start rebuilding this core. You don't do it.
Not quite yet.
You push in all, but let's say he wants in the neighborhood of 10 million, 11 million a year.
I say he's
won't sign for anything less.
Honestly, I think he's worth it.
Okay.
Honestly, so like where I believe this year is going to be successful is that top line when Marchand's gone. I believe that top line should be Bergeron, Pasternak, Taylor Hall. And I think you're going to see Taylor Hall have a bounce back year. I think Taylor Hall is going to start gaining some confidence back and start burying some pucks. Bergeron's an assist machine. Now he has 2 people to pass it to. And you're going to see Pasternak. I think you're going to see Pasternak compete for the Rocket Richard this year. that's the bright spot.
Yeah.
Everything else is dark.
Yeah.
You're going to see them squeak out. They're a team that's going to win 3-2.
Yeah, they're going to have
win
to
games 3-2, 2-1. They might get one shut out all year.
And it'll be Allmark.
No, not in the least bit. It'll be against a team like the Sharks or the Ducks who are in rebuild mode, or it'll be in the Coyotes barn, because that's what it is now. It's literally just a barn.
Gym. It's a gym.
Yeah, it's a gymnasium. But
boy,
Bruins fans have to be prepared for disappointment this year.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. You can't. It can't be all sunshine and rainbows every year.
Right.
And who knows? Maybe when Marchand and McAvoy and Grizzly do get back, I think they said they'll be back in late January, mid to late.
If you're
January.
sniffing around, maybe you can get in. You know,
maybe you could squeak in a wild card spot. They're going to be on the precipice of in and out. Like they're very much like the saying is, you're on the outside looking in. They're going to be pressing their face against the window. That's how close they're going to be, because the good team, the bad teams got better, but not much better.
Right.
You can't do – Johnny Gaudreau can't play the whole season in Columbus. You can't play him 60 minutes a game.
Right.
But the bad teams got a little better, and the good teams just stayed stagnant. And I think Boston's going to be competing with Washington for that final wild card spot. Because Washington Backstrom's injured for the whole year.
Right.
Ovechkin, their core is getting just as old. So it's gonna be a throwdown at the end of the season, Washington, Boston, for that last playoff spot. And
well, it's gonna be fun anyway.
It's gonna be fun, and honestly, what I think one might push Boston over on Washington is the fact that Washington doesn't have a goalie right now.
I know, right? Well, they got Darcy Kemper. I know. That's another one of those, boy. He better be worth that money.
Yeah.
But
Kemper's he's an enigma.
Yeah, no doubt about that right there.
When he's good, he's the best.
Yeah. When he's off, he's off. Well, my friend, you are planning on a trip here in a couple weeks.
Yes, 3 weeks from now.
Heading down to sunny Miami.
Yep, going down
Tell
to
us
Miami.
about it.
So there is a tournament called the Amerigo Latam Cup. It is all Latin American teams. I'm playing for my mother's home country, Chile.
Cool.
It means a lot to me. I mean, I know being from Central New York, you don't really get a chance to put a Team USA jersey on.
Sure.
You know, so like obviously growing up, that's the goal, is to wear this jersey.
Right.
But the opportunities just weren't there. Scouts don't come down here. There's always a little bit of me, and I think everybody who's my age who grew up playing youth hockey in the area always said, if I grew up in Brantford, Ontario, or Kingston, or even like Shawinigan or something like that, you could say, maybe I would have had a chance though.
Well, wait a minute. I want to stop you real quick though. What do you mean there's no? Do you mean to tell me when we're playing B League on Saturday nights, there's no scouts there?
There's one scout there. It's Jeff Baker.
A shout out to Bake. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's Jeff Baker. His praise is all I need now.
That's it.
Yeah, if Baker comes up to me and said, "You had a good game," I knew I had a phenomenal game.
He is the oracle of the B League.
Yes, he is. He is the chosen one. But going down to Miami, playing for my mother's home country, Team Chile. Every program playing in this tournament is fairly new. Chile's only had a program for less than 10 years. Colombia, Brazil, Argentina. There's even Middle Eastern teams now. Egypt has a team, Lebanon.
No kidding.
Israel. Team Jamaica.
That'll be a fight.
Team Jamaica has Anthony and Chris Stewart as their coaches.
Wow.
They take the bobsledding team and turn
give
them skates.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, they were going to make a movie about this, but they found out Ed was going to be there. Like, nope, cut production.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, I'm glad we're not playing Team Jamaica because I bet you Chris and Anthony Stewart will just say fight them.
Yeah, I know, right? We remember that kid from the Denver.
Punch him in the face.
Punch him in the face. He looks like he could take it for you.
Well, let me ask you, how did this come about? How did you end up on Team Chile?
So it was a weird story. It's weird. So I was on scouting pro stock hockey and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for gear and things like that. I'm a gearhead. I have so many gloves, so many sticks, shin pads, all these different brands of gear, just because I want to know what I like. So I was scouting. I found a Team Chile hockey bag. And I said, cool. That's random. I'm like, that's like unusually random. So I didn't buy it because it was like they wanted like $200 for it.
Right.
And I'm like, I just got a brand new bag like last year, so I'm like, I can't do it. I can't justify it. So I looked into it. So I looked into Chile hockey and I found the website. So on the website I looked at the roster and things like that. There was like 10 skaters.
Really?
There's like 10 skaters at that point. We have a few more. And I emailed them. I just shot an email out there. I was over at my parents' house, and my mom obviously speaks fluent Spanish.
Mm-hmm. So I had her write the email out and email the coordinator. Yep.
Hey, I've been playing hockey my whole life. Where do you guys play? Like, if I'm ever down there again, I'd love to bring my bag and just play. They said, and they emailed me back stating, hey, this is where we train for this tournament every year. It's an IHF qualifier.
Wow.
So
no kidding.
It's like low level. I mean, these guys are C League players.
Like still though.
So I watched. They emailed me on the email. They sent a link to one of their games on YouTube, and messaging me being like, "Hey, tell us what we need to focus on." And I'm just like, "Yeah, well, I'm a defenseman, so like I'll break down defense, but I'm not going to touch offense. Not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I don't know anything about it." So I broke it down for them. I sent it to them and I said, "What are the chances of me playing?" And I said, "If you could get documentation that your mother's Chilean, you're on the team." So I got my mom's birth certificate, faxed it over to them, and got the proper documentation that I'm Chilean, and they welcomed me with open arms.
Nice.
That's really tough, yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, in the grand scheme of things, I know it's just another hockey tournament, and I'm going to play it to win. Like I'm telling these guys on the team, like I have a group chat. I started a group chat with just all the defensemen. And I sent them bullet points of stuff to watch out for. Like I'm watching their games, taking screenshots of things that I see wrong. Watch out for this. Hey, we need to focus on this. When you guys are practicing down south, like watch out for backdoor.
They're gonna make him a coach.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah, make him a coach.
And honestly, there's a couple other Americans on the team. A lot of them just started playing 10, 12 years ago. But there's another American on the team. His name's Kevin Palma. He's been on the Chilean team for a while. In fact, I would say he's one of the reasons why I got started, because his family moved up here. He went to college, played hockey his whole life up here, and his family down south realized, oh, wow, this is a good sport, and they started doing it down there. They started, they got gear and guys.
Nice.
We're down there playing. So he's on the team, and he's a great offensive player. Kid could put the puck in the net. I would say out of that whole tournament, he's one of the top tier players. And me, I'm one of the older guys on the team as a rookie. So it's tough for me to justify me saying I deserve all this ice time. I haven't been there. I'm new
Right.
phase, but him and I kind of talked and we're like, listen, we both know the game. You talk to the offensive players. You do what you got to do. I'll talk to defensive players, and we'll get the ball rolling on what we need to focus on because like we're down there. I'm down there to win.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
I mean, it's great that I'm playing for Team Chile. It means a lot. I'm getting my mom's maiden name as the back of the jersey.
Really?
Nice.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yep, I'm getting my mom's maiden name because my family, my cousins, are planning to come up for it. My aunt and uncle, they're going to be in Europe for it, but they said if they knew about this sooner, they would have just said screw Europe. They're going to go to Miami and watch some hockey.
Yeah,
but it's full contact, so I haven't played full contact in years.
Oh boy,
punched in the face.
But with Scott knows, I try to make the B League as full contact as I can.
Yep. Yeah, we've had a couple of yard sales.
Oh my God! I hit Timmy Hughes last year by mistake, and I crushed the poor guy. Him and I went for a puck, and our shoulders collided, and I just derailed him. And I felt so bad.
Well, God, there's that one time you and I collided in pickup. Both of our gloves went flying.
Did you throw down on him?
No, we were both looking at each other like, what happened?
you put my helmet.
I didn't see him. He didn't see me. He just bang. Oh,
if I recall, our shoulders collided, and the chin strap on my helmet broke from the collision. So I had to get a new chin strap buckle.
It's one of the highlights of my beer league career.
But so I went out. I bought shoulder pads. I'm like, all right.
I would say you probably should get those for full contact.
Yeah. So I'm.
Don't be a hero.
Well, that's the thing is like I'm watching these games and like I'm not going to knock their play because these are players who've been playing for a very short amount of time.
Right.
And for what I've seen and how long they've been playing, if they've had consistent training their whole life, they could all be really good players. They all have the opportunity and the athletic ability to be really good players. Unfortunately, they didn't have the opportunity.
Sure.
But with that being said, I did, so I'm going to take full advantage of it, and I'm going to use my
Come on.
I'm trying to. I'm going to be a little bit not as mean, but I'm going to be.
You're there to win.
I'm there to win. I'm not there to make friends. I'm not there to talk to an Argentinian or a Brazilian or somebody from Honduras and be like, hey, we're alike. No, I'm going to be there. I'm going to tell them I'm going to rip your head off.
We'll talk after the game. How's that sound?
Yeah, when it's all said and done, let's have a beer. But I want the win. That's
right.
More important to me than anything else because I would have that same attitude if I was there with the Rink Rats.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
It's to me just another hockey game means it's just another chance for me to win.
Right.
I'm 29. Like if I was in the NHL, I'd be on my way out. You know. So, but there's a lot of me that still thinks I have that dog left in me. I still have a little bit of bark and there's a lot of bite.
We've heard a lot of bark.
Yeah, I'm great at that. Oh, Scotty knows I'm great at that. I'm going to bring out
Mr. Chirp over here.
Oh, my God. I'm on the bench. I'm just, like, absolutely laying into everybody. What are you going to do, jump in here and fight me? No.
Yeah, right.
There's 7 other rats on the bench because half the team didn't show up. Come on.
I'm too busy laughing. That's a fight. I'm laughing. What are you talking about?
See, there's a big difference, though. I take it easy on players I like. You, I don't really go that hard at you because, like, I like you. So,
thank you.
I've known you for a long time, and I don't want to I just bust your balls a little bit. But
he's fragile, though.
Yeah, no, right? I'm old. You got to be careful with me.
But somebody who I dislike, well, not to name names.
I got you.
He gets such a fat one. I hope he listens to this. I hope he finds a reason to try to suspend me over this. The dude cross-checked me in the teeth. like I forgot where we were in a face-off in our zone, and I'm just like, somebody busted my balls, and I laughed, and he made a joke with it, and I looked at him and I'm like, shut the hell up. I use much more colorful language because I don't want to swear on this.
Yeah.
But
why not?
I mean, if I'm allowed to swear, I'm going to swear.
You're allowed to swear.
Okay. All right. So he
shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And I told him, like, shut the fuck up. You know, I had that tone where it's like, I don't like you and I don't want you to talk to me. So he called me a pussy, and I looked at him like, go eat another fucking cheeseburger, you fat fuck. Right in the teeth. right in the jibs, just and like it's, you know what? If somebody skinny called me a fat fuck, like I'm absolutely cool with it. Like, you have that on me. Congratulations, you have good vision. But another fat person like me calling somebody a fat fuck is like the meanest thing on earth.
That makes it even funnier, though.
It just makes it even funnier because like he's just like looking at me like, you're fat too.
It's like those Spider-Mans. All the Spider-Mans are pointing at each other.
It's just like, what the hell? I understand it, like. And there are other people who I don't chirp in the league because, like, they're just gonna eat me alive. Like last year, you know Mountain?
Yeah.
So Mountain absolutely leveled Danny Maycock last year by accident. Like, stood Danny up, and I skated up to Mountain. And I put my stick between his legs. I'm like, you do that again, you're gonna kick my ass. he looked confused, and then he realized what I said. And he laughed, and he's like, it was a complete accident. I'm like,
that's great. That is great, man. Well, listen, this has been so much fun. And yes. When you get back from your tournament, you got to come back on and let us know how it went.
Yeah, actually, so I have the schedule up here. So every game's going to be on Hockey TV.
Okay.
So if you have a subscription to Hockey TV, you could watch the games, which is going to be really cool because, like, my unfortunately my mother can't make it. She has to work. She's an RN, and right now for the medical field, anybody who works medicine has a hard time getting time off.
Right.
And I get it. I offered her the opportunity to go, and when she said she couldn't go, it broke my heart a little.
Oh, I'm sure.
I did this for her. Like, it's not very often can you put the sweater of your country.
Right. I totally get you. Yeah.
So, like, but my dad was like, maybe I'll go, and I'm like, you know what? Stay home and watch it on Hockey TV. Like, get the subscription. I'll get the subscription for you. Like, I don't care, but watch it on Hockey TV.
You know, I might have to get that subscription now.
It's seriously. Like $30 a month,
right?
But like, you have Swedish leagues, German league, like all these other leagues. I think every NCAA game's on it.
Nice.
So there's a lot of hockey on that. Obviously, Hockey TV, but it's just games. There's no documentaries. There's nothing like that. It's just games. Which is great because, like, I love watching hockey. Right. Like, even at work, like, when I have a little bit of downtime, I'm watching hockey. There's nothing else I watch. So if you get Hockey TV, every game should be on there. I'll just read off the schedule real fast just to kind of let people know when I'm playing. We actually start off the tournament at 8:15 a.m. on Wednesday, September 14th against Mexico.
Oof, early game.
Yeah, wow. Early game. My flights actually had to change because of it. Our next game is Thursday, September 15th, 4:45 against Brazil. By the way, all these are being played at the Panthers practice arena.
Cool. Very cool.
So 3:30 p.m. I'm sorry. 3:30 p.m. is the next game against Brazil on Thursday the 15th, September 15th. And then Friday, September 16th, we have a 10 a.m. game against Argentina. And being a Chilean, that's the most meaningful game right there.
Right.
You know, you're playing your neighbor. It's USA, Canada. Only Chile, only it's like South American soccer. You hate I hate Lionel Messi. I hate Argentinian players because they always find a way to play Chile. And like I get it. So that's like our rival. Mm-hmm. My personal rival. I've been to Argentina. It's a beautiful country. Too bad all their players are ugly sons of bitches.
Fat fuckers with cheeseburgers.
Jeez.
No, that's
Well, we
B-League
just got
players.
banned in Argentina. Great.
That's just B-League players. No, I'm gonna bring out A-game chirps. I'm gonna straight up just disrespect them. My game plan, and I told the team this before. I told the coaches. I said, "Listen, nobody defends me," and they're like, "What do you mean nobody defends me?" And I said, "Because I do shit that just absolutely just pushes buttons. That's what I do. That's what I do best. I push buttons and I draw penalties. I may take a couple here and there, but I'm not going alone. I may take one, but one of theirs is coming with me."
Right.
So I said, just let me push the buttons, and if they punch me in the face, no one comes in to help. I can handle myself. I'm a big boy. I've done this before. So they're like, okay, they haven't been around much. They haven't really watched hockey that much to know what I mean yet.
Right. Oh, they'll find out.
You're going to find out. And that's where, I take my playing style from players like Brad Marchand, Tom Wilson, Gordie Howe, players that I grew up idolizing and players that play now that I love. So I'm going to take every second I can to just piss off every other player in my division. I'm just going to I'm gonna just turn every key and push every button.
It's what you do, brother.
Yeah, I'm great at it.
Yes, you are. You certainly are. Well, Eddie, thank you for coming on. This has been so much fun. And like I said, we are definitely going to do this again when you get back.
Yes. I may, you know what? That Thursday night, I may just pop in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just send me an email, and if I have time, I'll pop in.
Sounds like a plan, brother. I like it.
Thursday game, like I said, is at 3:30 p.m. So maybe I'll bring my phone on the bench and stream a little bit of it.
Hey, there you go. We'll get live coverage.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. All right. Well, Ed, again, thank you so much. That was a fun time putting together the Boston Bruins all-time list. And as always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, the whole works. And, of course, at sportshistorynetwork.com and at martysillegalstick.com. So for Ed Stefaniak, for Dave Warner, I'm Scott Kimball. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week on Marty's Illegal Stick, a hockey history podcast.